Hey, what's up? My name is Colby Sharp, 5th grade teacher in Michigan. Welcome to my channel where we try to help kids fall in love with reading. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing so that you can be notified anytime I post something new. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things that have helped my kids come back to reading. I am filming this within a week of the 1-year anniversary of COVID-19 shutting down all in-person learning in the state of Michigan last year. And I'm gonna be honest, it has been rough coming back. Not necessarily being in class with kids, but it has been rough helping them discover that love and magic of reading. It hasn't been like most years, and for the longest time I felt like we were never going to get there. I was just dejected and frustrated and stressed out constantly. But things are starting to get back to how we like them. Kids are finding their way back to books. They're finding their way back to story, and I'm excited to share with you 5 reasons why I think that is happening. Okay, reason number 1 why I think my kids are coming back to reading is physical books. When we started the year, we weren't really sure how checking out books, borrowing books, reading physical books would go. We weren't really sure how long we should quarantine books. We weren't really comfortable with kids being in the classroom library or school library. We were really struggling with that. So everyone was reading on, for the most part, their school issued iPad, and it was new and shiny. This is the first time they've ever had iPads, and they were reading on different apps. Epic is a popular one, and Epic is filled with lots and lots and lots of great books. But when you're reading on Epic, the kids sitting by you, they don't see what you're reading. When you're reading on Epic, you open it up, and instead of opening up necessarily to just your book, you open up to tens of thousands of books, and it can be very distracting. And I found a lot of times kids would just open it up and kind of scroll around and then just randomly select something, which is fine some of the time, but I felt like they were not making those connections to stories. They were not falling deeply in love with characters. They were not getting to experience magical stories over the course of several days. And after winter break, I decided, hey, during independent reading time, unless there's something you really want to read on Epic, let's try moving back to physical books. And some of them had before break, but I was inviting them and welcoming them to do that, and it just changed everything. Like, they are so much more into it. They're seeing what their classmates are reading. They are finishing books. They are finding new series. They're finding all kinds of things. And I think a big part of it is, well, they have like this huge classroom library, one of the biggest classroom libraries around, and there's so many amazing books. And now that they're reading them, I feel like they're getting back into the swing of things, those physical books, feeling the hand that holds the pages on the left getting bigger as the hand that holds the pages on the right getting smaller. As they're making their way through it, they're feeling that sense of accomplishment. They're seeing growth. They're seeing good things happening. So that's number 1 for sure, reading physical books. Okay, the second thing that I feel like is helping them fall back into books is series. Like, they're starting to find series that are new to them, but they're also rediscovering their love for other series that they loved in 4th grade, but with pandemic and all that kind of wild things that were happening, they never finished the series, or there's new books in the series, and just encouraging them and having those conversations, like when I'm sitting with them in reading conferences, like, what are some series or authors you loved? And the light bulbs are turning on. I'm like, oh yeah, like, I really love, we have this Michigan author, Jonathan Rand. I really love the Michigan and American Chillers. Do you have those? And I do. I have all kinds of them down there. And so I have one kid who sits right over here, and he is just always reading those books. Like, he was having trouble before falling in love with books, and now he's reading even when he's not supposed to. He's back. Got him. Series. Ugh. So that's really exciting. Definitely reason number 2 that I feel like they are coming back to reading is because they're finding series that they love. Reason number 3 why I think my kids are coming back to reading is because their friends are reading. Like, it's contagious. I'm not going to make a bad joke about other things being contagious right now, but reading is so contagious, and it can spread in a classroom. Like when the kid sitting next to you is so into a series that they ignore you, you want to know what's going on in that book. When your buddy sitting across the room comes over to you, even though he's not supposed to, so we try to stay apart, and tells you about this book that he's reading, or ask you, I love this question, have you read this? It's so good. And then they'll say, have you read this? It's so good. Like, I love when they say that. And that's happening more and more and more. It's this amazing thing when you can just get a few kids excited about books and passionate about books, it will spread and spread and spread, and before you know it, almost everyone is lost in a story. Almost everyone is lost in a book trying to learn something. Almost everyone is sharing a book with someone else, even if they're not going up and telling them. We're seeing the covers that they're reading. So you get a few kids going, you start to get the snowball rolling down the hill, and it just keeps picking up momentum. And by the time where we're at now, it's big, right? Like at the beginning of the year, we had no snowball rolling down the hill. We had like a few snowflakes at the top of a mountain. We're headed there. We're headed in the right direction. I can just feel it. I just feel it. And I know we have a whole quarter of the school year left, and we are going to build on this momentum. We are not going to slow down. We're going to hit the gas. I'm so excited to see where it takes us. The fourth reason why I think that we've started to kind of catch fire with reading is I have been getting a lot of new books in the classroom. I had 3,940 Scholastic points, and I used those to buy a bunch of books. I had $100 of school funds that I used to buy books, and I very strategically waited to the second half of the year till I knew the kids a little bit better, and I bought books that I knew that they would want. Maybe there's series that they're really into, so I made sure we had all of the books in that series, or maybe there's an author they loved, so I got other books by that author. And when I brought the books into the classroom, I would just have all this excitement, and we would cut the box open, and I would tell them about all the books, and I would show book trailers about it. I would tell them how it impacted me. I would often mention the kid in the class that made me think to buy that book, making that connection. And then these new books are creating such a buzz. And like there's a bunch of books coming out in the coming like weeks and months of popular series in the class. So I'm sure to say, hey bud, that last Kids on Earth book, I've seen you've read all of those. I got the next one. It'll be here the day it comes out, and you will be the first reader. So these new books are bringing in just this new energy. And it's seriously, it's like when you get a new student, like 2/3 of the year, through the year, like that poor child, like everyone is so excited to have someone new to talk to and look at and get to know. Like that, there's just like so much energy when you get a new student. And it's the same way when you get new books, if you do it right. Like if you just get new books and you just throw them on the shelf, like no one's gonna even probably notice. But when you build those things up, like it's a new level in Fortnite or year in Fortnite or however that works, I'm not exactly sure, a new skin in Fortnite, you have to build that buzz. You have to get new books. It's time. Like it's time. We have to find ways to get new books into our classrooms to finish the year strong, because there's new books coming out in series. We're learning more about them. We know them so well right now. New books have had a huge impact on my readers. They've had a huge impact on the excitement of reading in our classroom. If in any way possible, buy some new books for your students. I did make videos. If you go to my channel, I did make videos on how I spent that $100 and how I spent those Scholastic Book Club points, so that you can kind of hear a little bit more of my thinking on that. But yeah, buy new books if you can. Your kids will love you. Reason number 5 why reading is back here in the 5th grade is read aloud. We have read aloud every single day. We've ended just about every day with a picture book. We read a novel together every single day. And I don't know about you, but reading aloud for me as a kid was a time when I was always lost in a book. I was always captivated, whether it was Miss Collins reading us Hatchet, whether it was Miss Fry reading us Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, or someone like Miss Baker reading me Charlotte's Web. I was always lost in that. And not every kid is going to have success independently reading every day. Not every kid is going to always have that just right book and be lost in a book. But if they can be lost in that read aloud story, that love of reading is just growing and growing and growing and growing, even when that independent reading isn't going great. And I feel like that just gets them to the place where when they get that right book, that it will click. So read aloud to your kids. We're currently reading Alone by Megan E. Freeman. The kids are obsessed. Like, think about when you were a kid, the book you were most obsessed about. Like, this might be, this to my kids might be what Hatchet was to me. Like, they are all in. And speaking of Hatchet, one of my kids said, the book reminds me a little bit of Hatchet. And I'm like, oh, do you like Hatchet? And he went on to talk about how much he loved it and how his teacher read it. And I'm like, well, what about other Gary Paulson books? And he's like, well, I've always wanted to read Brian's Winter. Bam! Kids into it. Kids are into it. It's working. My kids are falling for reading for those reasons that I mentioned in the video. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. Physical books, series, friends, new books, read aloud. More kids in my class are taking books home because they want to, not because I asked them to. More kids are finishing more kids are book talking books. Kids are getting it. They're getting there. They are going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Your readers are going to be okay. I hope they're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Hang in there. It's worth it. You are one book away. Your kids are one book away from that light being turned back on, or maybe being turned on for the first time. Continue to talk books, continue to read to them, continue to bring new books into the classroom. It will pay off. My name is Colby Sharp. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an awesome-tastic